Rebecca, you know me well enough that I secretly think I actually am a golfer doing soccer analysis on the side.
I played golf today, actually.
What? Whoa.
Not on my own today, Taylor.
Sorry, Theo, you had a friend on the golf course?
Yes, I did. I had a golf lesson. I felt like I needed it today. Got back quite late from match day last night. However, I got up, nice 9 holes. It was a good 9 holes, actually. 1 over.
You just played 9 holes?
But I've just come back from an injury, to be honest. So I just want to just ease myself. You know how it is, isn't it?
No,
you can't
I don't.
Straight
no,
away.
No, I don't. It's like, Theo, that's like showing up and being like, you know what, I'll just play 20 minutes. Either you play the full 90 or you don't.
Wow.
Yeah, but I was used to getting subbed at times. The wingers always get subbed. We're the first to get subbed.
So 9 holes of golf is like Theo Walcott's career. That's very harsh.
Well, I just thought, Rebecca, I'd play a half just like Eze did the other day.
Oh, we're going to get onto that. We're going to get onto that. Before we get onto that, though, Theo, do not worry. I just got to tell you about Kansas City. And next time, Theo, yes. I think you would love to represent Arsenal. Come over at the next fan fest that we do. Yeah. Isn't it good, Taylor? Because Theo didn't really obviously get to see any of the footage, but didn't it look cool, Taylor? Did you see some of it?
It was great. The Power Lighting District, downtown Kansas City, is really transformed. The city's more diverse. It's more inclusive. It's more open. I was surprised at how many Arsenal fans there were. And Rebecca, you could tell me if I'm wrong, but it came through the television. Like, it was really pro-Arsenal that day. But, Theo, you got to do it. These cities now, you don't realize from 10 years ago till now, everybody watches the game. Everyone's informed. The fans are informed. You're not really having to dumb down, if that makes any sense, the way you talk about the sport, the way you articulate it, and the way Rebecca knows this better. It's great. It's awesome. It's great fun. It looked great.
I'll wait for my invite.
Yeah. No, here is your invite.
Whenever you want me,
this is your invite right now. We had Jermaine Defoe this weekend. We had Alan Shearer. Jonas Gutierrez, who used to play for Newcastle. We had Kevin Phillips talking Sunderland. We had Matt Jarvis talking West Ham. We have so many special guests. So this is your invitation. Consider it out there.
Okay, that would be... Well, I'm getting a guide dog soon, Puppy, so that's going to take up a little bit of my time as well.
What's a guide dog?
I think they call them service dogs over here. I think they call them service dogs. Guide dogs are for the blind. And that is like a very interesting topic that we are going to get onto. I would like some guide dog updates from Theo at some point. But because Taylor is in a car and I'm worried about the connection, I want to get going, guys, with everything from this weekend. Later on, we're going to talk about Major League Soccer and do your picks of the week. But Theo, for now, we're going to get on with the Premier League.
For me, that's the problem player.
What?
Sometimes the numbers do it justice, and I think with Lionel Messi, the numbers do it justice.
35 goals and 16 assists in 53 games, he's saying. He's leading by example now, not having the distractions of a Neymar or a Messi.
JP Mateta, say it very quietly, but he absolutely somehow continues to go under the radar. We'll just keep whispering it so nobody talks about him, please, okay?
Fourth official puts up the timer. It's like the fans forget, oh my God, we've got 7 minutes left. You just had an hour and a half to win the game.
They've swapped Højlund, this young, inexperienced striker with the world on his shoulders, for a young, inexperienced striker with the world on his shoulders.
I don't like when you're in my ear going, I don't like that. It makes me feel nervous.
And of course, there is only one place, Theo, to start. You said you were on Match of the Day in the UK yesterday, which our American viewers and listeners won't have seen. So I cannot wait to get into your ribs about this situation. So Gabriel Martinelli's late equaliser, earning Mikel Arteta's Arsenal a point against Manchester City. Erling Haaland had scored his 9th goal, just the 9th goal in 4 games for club and country in the last couple of weeks, with a brilliant breakaway counter-attack opener before Pep Guardiola's side decided to park the bus. A sentence I never thought I'd say, and a sentence that if Jose Mourinho heard, I feel like he would be absolutely loving and lapping up. So let's start at the beginning, Theo, shall we, with the lineup? Because when the lineup came out and Eze was on the bench and Trossard was starting, already I feel like the pressure went up.
Yeah, to be honest, when I looked at the starting lineup, I was a bit disappointed for the likes of a Martinelli or an Eze, because obviously Trossard did come on the bench and he scored. I get it. However, I just felt like this game needed a different kind of player. When you look at both sets of fullbacks. There was one fullback in play yesterday, which was Timber. And I felt that's where it was going to be won. And having said that, it just disappoints when you spend that much money on a certain player that's going to be creative and be that. He loves to call them finishers or game changers at this moment in time. For me, you have to start these players because they're the ones that will take the risk, that will be able to unlock defences in a different way. And that's the problem with Arsenal don't do in these big games at this moment in time. They want to stay in it. I understand that. I get that. However, I just feel every time Arsenal pick up their intensity, teams struggle. They can't cope with them. And it's like, why would you not do it from the start? That's the frustration from the fans' side of things. And even when I sit there and watch it, because it's in the players. It's like it takes them the 90th minute when the fourth official puts up the timer. It's like the fans forget, like, oh my God, we've got 7 minutes left. You just had an hour and a half to win the game. Why is it's taking us this long? And I felt the fact that you made substitutions at half time, for me, sometimes managers like to not, they feel like, I don't want to accept my mistake. I will continue to play these players for 10 more minutes, 10, 15 minutes, and then I'll make the sub. But I feel like deep down, if you really actually isolate the situation, I think he made an error in the starting lineup, personally. And then I just feel like they need this in games. That's the only way you're going to win these big games, particularly at home. And Man City aren't the Man City they have been in previous years as well. I think that's really clear to see. They're beatable. I think the Liverpool game is different at Anfield. I understand that, but I think at home you can afford to take those risks, and they're limited for me.
I mean, he was decisive at half-time, but then at the same time, Madueke did pick up an injury, we found out afterwards, so he had to come off at half-time, which was interesting. And no one thought he would play Saka from the start fine, but I think it was always that Eza-Trossard situation, wasn't it? So take me into the mind of the players. If we're all talking about them, there's no handbrakers still on. He doesn't seem to trust them, like you say, especially at home, especially against a City team that are not as good as they were. Although, having said that, Erling Haaland and Donnarumma at either end of the field are scaring the living daylights out of people, I think, quite literally. If you're a player in that dressing room, do they talk, Theo? Do they sort of talk to each other saying, does the manager not trust us? Like, why are we not going for this? We want to go for this. Is that like a conversation that goes on?
To be honest, I feel like the culture in a lot of the players this generation have changed because of the amount of games they play. I said this earlier at the start of the season, Martinelli is going to be tested in a different way he's never been tested before, because he was always a given starter. He never really had anyone to push him. And you can go one of two ways. You can be that player and go around the dressing room and be disruptive and really be that negative influence, because there is that side of it that does happen in football. It generally does, because people and players want to look for themselves at times. I get it. I understand. At times, I wouldn't be wishing the best of my colleague in my position. I'll be, brutally honest with yourself. However, I think Mikel Arteta's got them all on one page. I do. I feel like Martinelli's reaction to the decisions that have been made has been absolutely exceptional. And I think it just shows that he can trust anyone in that dressing room. It really does for me. That says it for me, because he's been linked to going to these other places, but he's just put his head down. He's working. He's showing that. Do you know what? It doesn't matter how long you play me. I will perform, and I will make sure that I'll continue to give you a headache. And he's the only player in that Arsenal team who loves to run without the ball. Too many players like to come to feet, and I get it. And that was the side of it being there was a lack of creativity, and you needed something different. And he's that. Well, game changer. Mikel Arteta calls it the finisher, and maybe that's his job this year. Maybe.
But it's so crazy that there was a lack of creativity when you looked at the bench. And you and I talked about this last week on this podcast. The bench is unbelievable, and actually, the bench yesterday was as good as, if not better, than a bunch of players in the starting lineup. It was absolutely amazing. And then you look at Manchester City, and Manchester City had more attacking players out there working hard and parking the bus and running for their teammates than Arsenal did, and City were away from home. Now, we'll get on to City in a second. I just want one more question on Arsenal. So now they're 5 points off top. Can they win the title if they continue playing against the big boys like Liverpool, like the Cities, like that?
I do. And the reason why I say that, I do feel the dynamic's got to change of when he needs to make the substitutions, though, because, like you say, when Man City took off Haaland, took off Foden, there's no attacking threat, just Doku. Why would you not bring on some more attacking threat? And it took a bit of time to react, and I think that side of it is reacting to the opposition. He obviously switched Martinelli and Saka around, but I feel like this year, the games they drew last year, they aren't going to draw those. And I think the difference for those games particularly is Gyökeres. And I know he hasn't set the world on light yet, but I just think they're the kind of games that they need that centre-forward who's going to occupy the centre-half in a different way. And so that's my take on it. I just don't think they're going to draw as many. The big games, they can afford to drop points. Because I feel like
so the games like last season when they drew or lost against West Ham United, they're going to win all those, and it might be okay. So it might be the bigger games where they drop points when they're playing a bit more conservatively, but they'll go out against everybody else, and you think they'll make up enough points to overtake Liverpool or Manchester City. Okay, Manchester City, of course, are still very much in this. Go on, what are you going to say?
Oh well, I've got Arsenal third, didn't I?
Well, that is true. That is true.
But that was before the transfer window stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah, you did want to redo your picks. So do you actually think now, this is an interesting topic, 5 games in, do you actually think now you would change that? Would you put Arsenal first?
No, I'll put them second.
Okay, so they're creeping up. Every 5 games, we might go up a place.
They're creeping up.
Okay.
No, but I said they're going to be a bit more competitive, and they're going to lead the table for a long period of time, and they're more quick to win the Champions League for me. Well, that's how I see it.
Okay. Well, the Champions League, that's interesting, but if they're going to lead the table for a long time, they need to get their act together a little bit, and soon, because Liverpool have this 5-point lead at the moment. We'll talk Liverpool in just a tick. I just want to talk to you about that Manchester City and that low block or medium block or part the bus or whatever it is you want to call it, which I'm not sure we've ever quite seen from a Pep Guardiola side. Is that an admission of... What is that an admission of? What does that say, Theo?
For me, I look at it a bit differently. I think Man City this year, they've really struggled in the last periods of the game. They conceded a lot of late goals, Brighton, Tottenham, and so on. And I just feel maybe Pep feels at times just to change things out. And when you have a keeper like Donnarumma, this is where players and teams will get frustrated when Man City, if you get a good set of players that are really willing to work hard for each other in a defensive sense, you'll get players that will just get bored and start taking pot shots from distance, and Donnarumma can just eat those up, no problem at all. And that was working until they committed too many bodies forward, and you could see Pep Guardiola was screaming at his guys saying, what are you doing? And then they all disjointed, and that's the one time where Arsenal got through, and maybe obviously Donnarumma's positioning wasn't particularly great when you look at the goal, and there was a lot of problems with the goal itself. No pressure on the ball. You need to drop back as soon as there's no pressure on the ball. I mean, that's music to my ears. Every time a player Cesc Fabregas was my man. Give him time on the ball. I'm going to make the run. If I don't get it, no problem at all, but I'm going to affect the game in some way. And that was the problem for Man City. And I just feel like they can still win games like that. They can win games 1-0. I think you see Haaland's at the centre half in the last few games. It's incredible to see at the moment. Man United was the same story. They sat right back. Maybe he's just trying to change it up a little bit and be something different, and then suddenly everyone's going to go back to, oh, look at Pep, he's changed it again. We're going back to a bit old school, and I don't mind it, to be fair.
I feel like I don't mind it either. I feel like if Pep parks the bus, everybody next week from Sunday League football all the way up to the Premier League is going to start parking the bus. It's hilarious because whatever Pep Guardiola does, that's what the rest of the football world does. In terms of Donnarumma, that's interesting there, Theo, that you said that you felt he was slightly out of position for the goal, because other than that, it appeared to me that he was like a giant. And I feel like, I know you don't like talking about goalkeepers too much, but having a goalkeeper the size of Donnarumma back there and everything he's done in his career and just the way he looks just feels good, doesn't it? For a defender, at least.
I can't disagree at all. I think now when you look at how far we've gone down the line of set pieces and long throw-ins and all that kind of thing, he's a goalkeeper. If there's anyone in his area, in his aura or in his space or in his bubble, they won't be there for long because he's that big and that physical. He will just get them out of the way. And that was my point. I tried to speak to Shay Given, who obviously playing for Aston Villa and Newcastle back in the day. I just felt if a goalkeeper is in a poor position or in a good position at present and he doesn't retreat, then he's got to commit to the player. If I'm running on Martinelli and I see a goalkeeper coming towards me, at times I got to either get out of the way or get there quickly and try and get him a red card. And that was what he said. He probably would have got a red card. Is it worth the risk? I don't know. But yes, I think for me, he's going to add so many points. And I don't think they're too bothered about playing out from the back. I really don't. I think it did change in the second half. They started a little bit and Arsenal got a bit more pressure on them, and I don't think that's their game. But he is exceptional, and you're right, it's an absolute snippet. I just can't believe he's at Man City, to be fair. I think that's incredible business. I really do.
having Haaland at the top and Donnarumma at the back, and it's like if they can get the middle sorted out, you sort of look at Haaland and Donnarumma and wonder how they don't win this Premier League title. That's the thing. Now, Liverpool, of course, were the big winners after the 1-1 draw at the Emirates, because they, as we said, have that 5-point lead now. Ryan Gravenberch and Hugo Ekitike with the 2 goals. They didn't let Everton score 1 in the second half. By the way, Jack Grealish's post-match interview was absolutely brilliant. I absolutely love Jack Grealish. It's like, and I was talking to Jules Breach, who did the interview with them, it's like interviewing a fan when you interview Jack Grealish. I feel like everything he says is so from the heart. Don't you just love him, Theo?
No, I think he's so refreshing. I think the way he plays his game is refreshing. Yeah. I think he's got this new lease of life, and I think it's really nice not seeing a really boring footballer interview, to be fair. You get something out of him. It's always the cliche with footballers at times, they give the boring interview. I might have been one of those, so apologies if I have done in the past.
Well, However, I've interviewed a lot down the years, Theo. I did interview you a lot. You were not boring. Yeah. You were just very good. You were very sort of straight-laced and good, gave good, thoughtful answers, but you never got yourself in trouble. You never gave anything too outlandish. You were never controversial. And I tried a lot. I remember coming to interview a lot at London Colney, and I was like, come on, Theo, give me something. But it's fair. I totally understand why. I totally understand why. Okay, I just want to talk to you about the Isak situation with Ekitike, because I don't know how you can drop Ekitike. He scored 3 goals in 5 Premier League games, and I was talking to Jermaine Defoe about it during the Fan Fest, and I was saying, what is he going to do? I know they've got 1 million games, but do you think Ekitike on the left with Isak up front, if you're going to play a massive game and that's your absolute number 1 lineup, is Ekitike going out on the left, or is Ekitike starting on the bench and being okay with it, knowing that at some point Isak comes off and Ekitike goes on, especially if they need it?
Wirtz is on the bench for me when I look at this team. I know I've said, for me, not having him. That's the problem player.
What?
It's not that I'm not having him. I do feel like, look, I know there's going to be a lot of people on me here, but just hear me out for a minute.
Okay.
I think at times, when I've watched him play this year, he wants time on that ball, and I get it. And I think the physical side of things is really starting to show. Ekitike, for me, is that presence of an Henry. He's got some kind of thing about him. I love his hair. He's got. I love the way he speaks. He's got a presence about him. I think he would be fascinating to see him behind Isak, and maybe even dropping Wirtz back, or not even starting Wirtz. You could maybe put Wirtz on the left. I like Gakpo as well. I think it's a nice problem to have. However, I think you need to fit Ekitike and Isak in the same team if you can, because I think they both will be exceptional.
Okay. That's really interesting. So playing Ekitike maybe as a 10.
Yes, but the fact is, I don't think you could have 110 million player, whatever he was, Wirtz, on the bench.
This is giving Slot a big headache, actually. I mean, obviously it's the nicest possible headache you can ever have, but it's also difficult if he were to keep Wirtz on the bench, and he was on the bench this weekend, wasn't he, at the start of the game?
Well, for me, I've been in situations before in games where I've not played well. It's been a period of games when I've not played well, and we've won. However, no one really looks at the individual's performance at times. As a player, you know you've not played well, but you kind of get away with it. But there's only at some point you won't get away with it, and it's creeping up on him. It is creeping up on him. If you watch him, if you isolate his games.
Yeah, and you said he needs time, he wants time on the ball, and he's not getting that. But do you think he will adapt to not being able to have the time, and then he'll just go back to being as good as he was? Or do you think this is a bit of a problem?
I don't think it's a problem. I think it's a kind of a nice problem. However, you can obviously mix and match with Isak and Ekitike, but at times I feel with Wirtz, McAllister, they're kind of similar players, getting each other's way at times. I think McAllister is actually more effective higher up the field. So Bosler, you need to give him access to roam the field personally, because I think he's exceptional. Gravenberch, the same case for me. He can be a 6, he can be an 8, he can be everywhere. I do feel like there's certain players you can't play together. It's like with Man United and with Fernandes and Cunha. I'm not quite sure you can play them two together. It's the same situation. With Arsenal, with Odegaard and Eze, I like Eze in the 10. You got some very players that want to play in the same position, and I think Liverpool got that problem. But look, Slot came here, won the league. He'd do something magical, and I feel like that could well be the test of his biggest test this year, is trying to fit them all in.
Yeah, that is.
But Gakpo's going to be the one. Gakpo's going to be the one to drop. It's the easiest one.
I know, but it's not really fair. He's not. It is the easiest one, but I don't know why it's the easiest one, because he's done great.
Well, we can't forget that the Mo Salah will be going away for the Africa Cup of Nations as well, so they're going to have to try and figure out that side of it on the right-hand side. They don't have any natural players that play like Mo Salah, so they're going to have to change the dynamic of how they play, their style slightly, so that's going to affect them massively. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see, but I would like to see Ekitike behind Isak.
Okay, let's talk about Manchester United against Chelsea, which was that 12:30 Eastern game over here in the United States. It was mad, wasn't it? Absolute chaos. I think Peter Drury on our commentary for NBC called it sodden chaos, and that's exactly what it was, because 5 minutes into the game, off goes Robert Sanchez, and then Casemiro, after he'd got the second goal for Manchester United, then gets sent off just before half-time. Obviously, Sanchez's red card cost Chelsea a lot, but I also feel it felt then like Manchester United had even more pressure on them, I think, playing against 10 men for then, well, they didn't know they were going to have to be 10 against 10, but at that point they saw 85, 90 minutes ahead of them playing against 10 men, and it was like, we knew we had to win this game coming in. Now we really have to win this game. And they, I guess, stepped up to the task, Theo.
They did. I felt Casemiro was a bit unlucky, to be honest, as well, getting a second yellow, personally.
I agree.
But that's a different conversation. But do you know one thing I don't think teams do too often, because I never did it as a player, is actually train against 10 men and play against 10 men. That never happened in my whole career.
Does it happen so often now? Because there's more red cards now than when you were playing.
So often. Well, these referees are so quick to book players now these days. It's really interesting to see, and we kind of know referees' names, but we never used to. But yeah, no, I think it was...
You love that one.
It was just... I do, don't I? Do you know what? It was just... it was a bonkers decision-making and substitutions and that side. But however, Man United, yes, I felt they had to win that game regardless when they went down to 10 men. I feel everyone's going to dramatise it, thinking Man United are back and all that. But look, we got to remember they play against 10 men, and you always expect to beat 10 men. I know it obviously didn't work for Villa the other day against Sunderland. However, Man United at Old Trafford, I actually think they play well in patches. I really do. And I think they need to commit more bodies forward. But when you have an extra body, of course you can commit more bodies forward. It's easy to do that. I think they need to do that when they're playing against 11 men, just to help out Sesko a bit, because he's a man who desperately needs help and desperately needs to play to his strengths, which they're not still to this time. They're not. So I worry with that. I worry for that.
Theo, I'm a bit concerned. They've swapped Højlund, this young, inexperienced striker with the world on his shoulders, for a young, inexperienced striker with the world on his shoulders.
Yeah, and he kind of looks like I know, completely defeated when you see him. He looks like a, when you're watching your kids play football. Anyone this can be. You're watching your kids. You kind of feel like they're going through like an emotional state or something, and they're not quite on key with whatever they're doing. It could be any sport. I know. It's him, and I feel for him, and it's like, he needs help, he needs a hug, he needs something, and yeah, that's the worry for me, because it's gonna kill his confidence, and it's killing his confidence.
And I think that, we've been here before. We've seen them spend tens of millions of dollars. I think Sesko was 75 odd million. And we've seen this before with Højlund. He was expensive too, and it didn't work. And I know this is a bit mad, right? This is a crazy thing I'm about to say. But they could have done worse than getting Jamie Vardy in. I'm not saying to start every game, but to allow Sesko somebody to learn from, have come off the bench, start some games. I mean, they could have done worse, Theo.
Well, this is my debate I have with so many people at times. When you look at when they sign strikers from across, the globe, why not go for someone tried and tested in the Premier League? Mateta. Sorry to Palace.
Thanks.
You want to keep hold of him?
I take that back.
But or Delap or someone that is Ollie Watkins. You know what you're going to get with these guys. Your Vardys. I'm with you. I kind of understand that. It's like a stopgap, and then have the younger guy to learn from that. I really feel like teams should do it. I felt Arsenal probably could have done the same thing with Delap, to be fair. But yeah, no, I actually don't think you're crazy. I actually don't, to be fair. I don't think that's crazy.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's always nice to have
good.
that. You mentioned Crystal Palace. I mean, JP Mateta, say it very quietly, but he absolutely somehow continues to go under the radar. And I don't know why, and I'm absolutely fine with it. He's got 50 goals for Crystal Palace. He's not even been there that long, but we'll just keep whispering it so nobody talks about him, please, okay?
No, we will talk about him, Rebecca. No, let me tell you why we'll talk about him, because I love the fact he tucks his shirt in. It's so short to high, and
don't
he
you
looks
love
great,
him? I know, with his high waistband. Oh, God bless it.
Enjoy this year.
Shout out to Palace. And yeah, I know. But shout out, and I am enjoying this year, and we don't do a lot of Palace shout outs because I got a text from my dad over the weekend which had stats. My dad doesn't send me texts about stats, right? He sent me texts about how Crystal Palace had won more games at the London Stadium than West Ham in 2025, how Glasner's won more games at West Ham than even Graham Potter has, 3-2, I think it is. And then his other stat, which was really good. Palace are now unbeaten in 17, dating back to last season. And if they remain unbeaten against Liverpool, the only other unbeaten team in the Premier League, this coming weekend, we will equal a record that we set, Palace did in 1969, and will be 18 unbeaten. That doesn't happen to teams like mine. So I just wanted to take a moment on this podcast and give them a shout out. Theo, I'm not going to come to you because actually we don't have time for more than one person to talk about Crystal Palace on this podcast, but I've had my 30 seconds and that's fantastic. What we do have time to hear from you about is who they beat. West Ham United. Graham Potter, now many people think on the verge of losing his job. I think it was the Telegraph who yesterday talked about the Hammers now looking for an interim manager until the end of the season. According to reports, Karen Brady has spoken to Slaven Bilic, or is it Nuno? I think she's spoken to. The club has spoken to Bilic. Bilic wants the job back. There's talk of Gary O'Neill, apparently. He's been spoken to as well. Is this the right thing to do? Talk to another manager, get somebody lined up and fire Graham Potter?
Do you know what? I'm scratching my head here because interim manager, did you say?
According to the Daily Telegraph yesterday, I think it was Matt Law, who said what they might do is do interim till the end of the season. I'm not sure who's taking that, by the way. That's weird.
Wait a minute.
They wanted to do that with Graham Potter, Theo. Do you remember? They wanted to do it with Graham Potter, and he said, no, I'll only come if you give me a 2 or 3 year deal.
We're 5 games in. There's still a long time. Why are you going to have an interim manager?
It's a very long interim. Very long.
It is, isn't it? Mm-hmm. I mean, I'll take the job. Mm-hmm. Why not? It'd be an interim. Anyone can. I just feel like he's very blunt. He doesn't give much away. He's not his usual self. And that would be a concern for me, knowing that if you're not your usual self, he isn't going to be putting his full capacity into a day-to-day. And I think the players will see that. And that's sad to see because I like Graham Potter as well. I like him as a man, as a manager. Maybe he will suit... maybe he'll suit international football.
Yeah, I thought that too, actually, because of course that's where he did start in Scandinavia as his first game. As his first job in management, and he did really well. Two things about West Ham. One, with Graham Potter, I spent a lot of time with him pre-season in the Premier League Summer Series over in America. We had a lot of conversations off the record. He was so nice. I like him a lot, and I worry about him because he went on the High Performance podcast with Jake Humphrey not long ago when he was still out of a job, and he talked a lot about the damage that what happened at Chelsea did to him mentally, and I'm very concerned about him, to be honest, because he doesn't seem himself, and I don't want him to be fired because we actually had this conversation in our green room during FanFest this weekend. I think Robbie Mustoe said, if he gets fired, do we see him back in the Premier League? And none of us, Tim Howard, Robbie Earle, none of us thought we see him back in the Premier League. We think he'd have to go either abroad or into the Championship to try and get his way back up to the top. And I just think, from a human level, it's a really difficult journey he's had. At one point, talk about England manager. At one point, talk about the best English manager in the league and that England were producing. And now to be facing the sack again, I'm a bit concerned about that. So I just wanted to say that about
I think
him.
I would
Go
be
on,
concerned as well. I think as well, which is really it sticks with me, is the mental health side of things. You hit it nail on the head there a little bit because we need to not forget about this. He's a human being as well. I'm very strong with this. I do therapy every week. I think it's really important. I think it's one of those where you get built up and then people want to knock you down. I think it's not just resilience in what you do in a day-to-day. It's just how you explore yourself and your past traumas, etc. So for me, I think we need to obviously be careful, to be honest, and really at times take a step back and think, actually, he's a human being. Let's just try and just relax a little bit. And maybe getting away from football will be a good thing for him. We'll see.
Taylor, you're back in the car. Still a very long journey for you. Okay, we do not want this to become a Lionel Messi update show, right? But of course, he scored twice, set up a brilliant goal this weekend in their 3-2 win, Miami's win against DC United, which puts Miami on the brink of a place in the playoffs. Taylor, you were obviously loving especially that long-range assist, weren't you? He's the fastest player to reach 70 goal contributions in Major League Soccer, doing so in just 46 matches. He's 38 years old. Make it make sense.
I can't. He's still arguably the best player in CONMEBOL World Cup qualifying, Rebecca, at 37-38. So everyone that said when Lionel Messi goes to Major League Soccer, his game's going to digress. He was just voted the best. He was the leading scorer of World Cup qualifying in South America at 37-38. He should have had 4 goals. He gave away a penalty in this game to Silvetti, the new young player from Newell's Old Boys, to get his first goal. He hit the crossbar. By the way, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. He hit a penalty that hit the crossbar and landed at midfield. I digress. Point is this: Lionel Messi's he's outperforming the way he has his entire career. They want to become the first team to win back-to-back supporter shields. He wants to become the first player in MLS history in 30 years to win back-to-back MVPs. And I just feel like a broken record, and it's hard to articulate every single week a different way to describe what he's doing other than saying the records speak for themselves. Sometimes the numbers do it justice, and I think with Lionel Messi, the numbers do it justice.
Theo, I feel like if you had thrown him down the stairs like Arsene Wenger had asked you to do on that day back in whatever year it was, he might not be doing what he's doing. So A, thank goodness you didn't push him down the stairs. But B, for you, Theo, he's the greatest ever, yes? You've played against him loads of times.
Yeah, I think when you look at it on a consistent basis for a long period of time, he has to be, because the levels of, obviously Taylor saying there, is just endless. I can't speak highly any more about him. Is, like you say, everyone sounds like a broken record for me every time you speak about Lionel Messi. There's no bad thing to say about the way he plays, his playing style. I just feel I really enjoyed Ronaldinho for a patch. When I look back at my era, looking and really enjoying football. However, I think Lionel Messi's leaps above everyone. I absolutely think he's incredible. And playing against him, being one of those lucky players to manage to play against him and not do particularly well, or do well at times. One thing, he didn't embarrass me, and he's embarrassed a lot of players in his time. And he will continue to do that. Do you feel, Taylor, I want to ask you actually, do you feel going out to the States would have maybe hindered him? Because there's a lot of travelling involved in the games. Looking at yourself now, travelling all over the place, like, is that something they manage pretty well with him?
Yes, Theo, it's a different world. Even Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, Robbie Keane, Didier Drogba, all of the English, Western European players that come over, the first thing they notice, time zones, travel, weather, all of that. You know, you guys over there, you play in a Champions League game, that's a 4-hour flight to Turkey. We're talking about Miami, literally going to Austin or Dallas, Texas, and it's a 3.5-hour flight. He had to go to Vancouver, which is barely, 7-hour flight. So absolutely. It's funny you brought up Ronaldinho, because I played against Ronaldinho in the under-17 World Cup, under-20s, and then with the national team. I only played against Messi once, and it was right before everyone in the world knew it was 2007 Copa America, but this was an Argentina team that had Verón, Zanetti, Crespo. That generation was ready to pass the torch, but not yet. And yet, every time he touched the ball, there was an aura within the stadium where something was going to happen. He wasn't even wearing number 10, Theo, yet. Like, that's what's crazy about this. He was still wearing 19 or whatever numbers he was wearing for Argentina. He still wasn't the guy, and yet even them, the Verones, the Zanettis, the Crespos, they all kind of looked at it and was like, yeah, here it comes. Here it comes. I just don't know if they knew it was 883 goals. He's 120 assists more than the person in second in world football. That's absurd.
Yeah. It is absurd. It is absolutely ridiculous. It's mind-blowing. Okay, just to stop this becoming the Messi show on Major League Soccer, let's just talk about Dean Smith, because we mentioned him the other day, and he was on a 9-game winning streak with Charlotte, but NYCFC beat them 2-0 Saturday to clinch a playoff spot, and there goes Dean Smith's streak. But it was a crazy game, wasn't it, Taylor?
Wild. Fouls all over the place. And you got to keep in mind, New York City games, until they're billion-dollar stadiums built in New York City, they're either playing at Citi Field or they're playing at Yankee Stadium, and so it becomes a very congested game. Theo may have played in a baseball stadium when he came over here for some of those European friendlies. Sometimes they do it. Now, they're going to have their stadium, and it's going to be absolutely gorgeous, and it's going to be a mecca. Now, in saying that, it becomes a congested game. I thought, and I would have bet if we talked about this last week, this would have suited Charlotte, because Charlotte is more of a physical team, and yet it wasn't. New York City's won 7 of the last 9, and they're turning the corner. They signed a real special young player in Fernandez. Since they signed him, they've won 6 of 7. But keep an eye on Dean Smith, because Charlotte can win games 1-0. And when it comes to one-off cup ties, one-off cup games, playoff games in this country, oftentimes the difference is winning 1-0, and Charlotte right now can win that game.
All right, before we finish today, picks of the week time, chaps. Updated table for you. Theo and Taylor level, pegging on 2. I'm just very slightly behind, just by 1, sitting there on 1. Taylor, your 1-1 prediction for Arsenal-Manchester City was very impressive. Let's not talk about what I did. Right, picks for this week. Chelsea against Brighton, Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, so it's in that little middle window. Chelsea lost, of course, this weekend. Theo, you want to give me your prediction for Chelsea-Brighton? Just the scoreline.
Okay, I'm going to go 2-1 Chelsea. I'm going to give Brighton a goal, but I'm going to go 2-1.
All right, Tay?
When you say I'm going to give Brighton a goal, is that like a gift? Do you want Brighton fans to appreciate that? Describe that real quick before I give you my pick.
Okay, no, the reason why I think Chelsea is still quite vulnerable at the back, and I do feel like they will concede a sloppy goal. He's trying to play up in the back, a bit lackluster, I feel like that's the problem for me. So they will give a goal. Why not?
Okay, cool. I'll take 3-0 Chelsea.
Okay, 3-0 Chelsea for Taylor. I'm actually going to go for a cheeky Brighton win. I'm just not really convinced about Chelsea yet. The turnover everywhere in that club is so complicated and so ever happening, and I just don't. And I also still kind of think they're struggling up front, which is absolutely mad. So I'm going to do 2-1 to Brighton for that one. Next up, chaps, Saturday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern from Major League Soccer, the Hudson River Derby, New York Red Bulls against New York City. Taylor, who are you going for?
I'll take New York City. They've won 7 of 9. The way they're playing, New York Red Bulls, a little bit older, a little bit slower at the field. I like New York City, so I'll take New York City 3-2.
Theo, where are you going to go over this?
I'm going to go New York City 2-1. I feel like there'd be not that many goals. I don't think they could see too many.
Ooh, nice little bit of prep done there by Theo. Okay,
well, I know a little bit.
Nice.
Don't worry.
As the weeks are going by, Theo's getting more and more into Major League Soccer. I love it.
More competitive there.
I'm going to go 2-2 in that one. Okay, and then we need a scoreline and a scorer, anytime scorer, Theo, for Newcastle United, Arsenal. Oh.
2-1. I've gone 2-1 everywhere. 2-1 Arsenal.
2-1 to Arsenal, and give us a scorer.
I will say a goal for... I'm going to go centre half. Gabriel.
Okay. Another set piece, maybe. Shock.
Yeah, different.
Okay,
I'm just
Taylor.
surprised you didn't say, I'll give Newcastle a goal. I'll take Arsenal for 2-1. I'm going to take Arsenal... I don't think they give... I'll take Arsenal 2-0. And I will take...
Do you?
Yep.
Okay.
I don't love it, but I like being different.
Well.
I don't love it, Rebecca, so I don't like when you're in my ear going, I don't like that. It makes me feel nervous.
Well, it's your pick. It's your pick, Taylor.
I know it is.
Goal
I
scorer.
know. I'll take Arsenal 2-0, and I will take Saka with a goal.
Okay.
Like it.
All right. And I'm going to do 1-1. I think Arsenal are going to be a little bit affected by what happened this weekend, even though it was a late equaliser and there should be momentum. I just worry, and Newcastle's a hard place to go. They find it hard. 1-1, Jacob Murphy for me with the goal. One of the most underrated players in the Premier League. Taylor, we are going to let you go back onto your journey, and we will see you next week. And please be in a room. That would be great. Right, we're going to finish with the Ballon d'Or because that just got announced just before we started recording. And Ousmane Dembélé, Theo Walcott, was the favourite coming in. Of course, he won everything with PSG this year, scored goals in big moments, really stepped up when it mattered. I love his story because now he's 28 and he hasn't had it all easy. It's not like he's been this prodigy from day one. He's had ups and he's had downs. And to win this huge trophy, Ousmane Dembélé, congratulations. Do you agree it's gone to the right man?
Yes, actually. When I look at that, I think it's really fascinating to see someone different win it. But yeah, no, I think he's incredible. I think he's incredible because the players that would have been he's played with, and he's always second fiddle to them. He always has been. And he's never been good enough. And he's always had to prove people wrong constantly on a day-to-day. And for me, he's just a constant threat. He's fascinating to watch because he's that player who takes the risks who gets people off their seats, who entertains you, who demands the best out of himself, and to score the amount of goals he scored, and 35 goals and 16 assists in 53 games, he's saying, and to win the Champions League, to win the league, of course. I think his leadership skills are showing as well. I think he's getting the best out of the younger players. I think he's leading by example now, not having the distractions of a Neymar or a Messi. And I think he's taken that mantelpiece. So, do you know what? Massive congratulations. Incredible player. Annoyed with him when he played Arsenal, though, mind. So I'll give him a pass on that.
But yeah, God-given talent for sure. And just for me, the fact that it hasn't always been straightforward, I love it when you have to prove people wrong. And my goodness, has he done that. Theo, before we go, we got a community question of the week, as we always do. This one is from Savannah, from South Georgia. I wonder if she's living in Savannah, which is also in Georgia. I wonder. Anyway, I think Savannah's in Georgia. Okay, so she says, what is the biggest difference between playing in the second tier and the Premier League? And what do you look to improve most when making the step up? Did you ever play in the second tier?
The Championship? Yeah, I did. So I played when I was 16 at Southampton. Yeah,
okay.
only a little bit. And the great thing for me, I was only 16, so I was fearless, and no one expected a 16-year-old to be able to perform at that level in the Championship, because I always played up age groups. So I was always used to the physical side of things. So when I came to playing against men, I was only 16. I was a skinny little guy, but I was so quick. It never really fazed me because I didn't overthink things. I think this generation now, if you're in the second tier, there's no VAR. And I think that's a big plus. You can just play with that, knowing that those emotions, if you score, those feelings, they happen naturally. Premier League's different now with the VAR. I think that really affects things. But the step up, it's just more on how often you can open up teams in the Championship now. It's quite like basketball, I would say. It's back and forth. It really is back and forth. You don't really have the ball for long periods of time like you do in the Premier League. So for me, the Premier League, if you are coming up from the Championship, it's difficult because at times you need to just be chasing the ball and you're chasing shadows, and half these teams now are improving. So that's the big step for me.
That's interesting. Okay, Savannah, thank you for that question. Don't forget to keep sending us your questions in the comments on YouTube or wherever you want the comments on social media. We will find your questions and we'll try and answer one every single week. Thank you so much for this week. Before we go today, I want to pay tribute, and I know on behalf of Taylor and Theo as well, to Matt Beard, who sadly passed away this weekend, aged 47. He was twice a Women's Super League winner with Liverpool. He was a pioneer for the women's game, such a supporter of the women's game, deeply respected for his passion, kindness, his leadership. And you can see from all the social media posts from some of his former players and even players that didn't ever play for him, everybody knew that was what he was about. And he leaves behind an amazing legacy. And our thoughts, of course, are with his family, his friends, all of those that he knew, all who knew him, and all of those that he inspired as well. 47 is no age. It was horrible news when this came through at the weekend. So we wanted to just pay a little tribute to him right here on It's Called Soccer. So that is all we've got time for in this week's episode. We're going to be back next Tuesday, brand new episode. We're going to be breaking down all the stories, as always, from the Premier League and also from Major League Soccer as we head towards those playoffs as well. So remember to subscribe, to like, to review the show, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube as well. Get in touch with your questions, and we will see you guys next week.